Hello there, welcome to Blitz Transmissions. I'm Tommy, and this is episode 28 of the Blitzcast. Before we get into the content of this week's episode, please, as always, make sure to check out all of the links in the description below. If you are an ARC Trooper in the Patreon, you would have seen this podcast early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, make sure to check out the link to the Patreon in the description below. If you would still like to support the channel in an above and beyond way, but your cup of tea is more just the reviews, or you just don't have $5 to spend, then you can join my channel membership, which is Rancor Battalion, here on YouTube. It is just 99 cents a month. Like I said, it gives you access to all my reviews early, as opposed to all the content, and it gives you access to voting on what I review next on the channel. And then in addition to that, you also have links to my Discord and all my other social media, like Instagram. I have 2 accounts for Instagram. You can check out my X page, my TikTok. I think that's it. I'm here with Jen. Jen's finally back.
Hi.
Everybody, your prayers have been answered.
I know.
She's back by popular demand. Jennifer.
Yes.
How are things, sweetie?
Things are good.
And Cody's here
Things
too.
are great. Working, doing all the things. What am I doing? I just recorded my podcast right before this one. Oh.
And Cody just knocked over the camera. Okay. Let's hope he didn't screw with the microphone.
Last night I went wedding dress shopping for the first time.
Yep. How was that?
I can't tell you anything, so.
Right.
But it went really well.
Good. I'm playing with the dog off camera right now because he's, for some reason, very energetic.
He wants to be a part of the podcast. He has a lot of thoughts.
So, Jen, it's been a while since you've been on the pod. You abandoned me along with the napkin. Actually, the napkin's been in the dungeon where he belongs, but you have abandoned me. So catch everyone up. You know, what's going on with Jen for Star Wars right now?
Well, we haven't really been watching. Well, we were watching Resistance together.
We got through season 1. Tell everyone a little bit about that, because I feel like that's a pretty hot button topic, because I feel like Resistance is pretty widely known as like an almost unwatchable show for a lot of adult fans. So, where are you at with it?
I don't
You're glowing, by the way. You're so sparkly.
It's my makeup.
Beautiful.
Guys. I don't mind it.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about it.
I mean, like, obviously there's, like, the cringe, like, super kiddie episodes.
Right.
But there were also those episodes in the Clone Wars and in Rebels.
True. Good point.
Obviously, like, I don't feel as connected to the characters in Resistance. But there's some juicy episodes that are pretty lore heavy. We watched Force Awakens.
We did get through the Force Awakens, yep.
And I do think, like, Resistance helped me prepare for Force Awakens.
There you go.
Like,
good.
I was kind of, like, cringing, waiting for us to watch it, because you have said that, like, oh, we just need to, like...
Go through it.
We just need to get through it, it's terrible, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, like, definitely the first, like... handful of episodes were not, but like once we got past the first, you know, it was the same thing for the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
To be honest,
yeah.
I think the Clone Wars obviously was like a little bit meatier right off the bat because it starts in the middle of a war,
an actual war,
like an active war. So that has like an advantage to it, but like, I mean. The Clone Wars movie, half of it is like cringe kiddie jokes.
Yeah.
Let's not deny it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're more connected because it has
For me, it's nostalgia.
Characters. Yeah, his beloved characters. You introduce Ahsoka, and like I don't like any of. I mean, I hate Tam. Tam like remains insufferable for the rest of the show. Just so you know. Why am I like blanking on the main character's name?
Kazuda Xiono.
Oh,
Kaz.
Kaz is like Kaz's first season. Ezra. Mm-hmm. And I had the same opinion about first season Ezra, where I'm like, why is he just doing like the stupidest things ever all the time?
Yeah. What about Niku? You like Niku, the Jar Jar of the show?
I kind of like Niku. He's just he's autistic. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, fair. So, I mean, all we have left to watch is next we're going to watch Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And then we're going to watch Season 2 of Resistance. And then we watch Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And then Jen will have officially seen everything in timeline order that has come out so far.
Yes.
Aside from the stuff we watched as it came out, you know. Yeah. What else? Are you excited for a couple other things here? The announcement of Revenge of the Sith coming to theaters in April. Thoughts on that?
Very cool.
That's it on that. How about Andor Season 2? How are we feeling? It's about a month away.
I'm just excited to see Kaz back on the silver screen.
Casa!
Yeah. Heck yeah. I want to see him all over that.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah. And then we got our press badges to ICCCon.
Woohoo! Because I'm a co-host.
You're co-host of this pod, bro.
Some of the times.
No, you're co-host. I think you've been on more episodes than anyone else, obviously. Well, yeah. But I feel like you've been on probably half or more of the episodes at this point.
Yeah, well,
you're co-host.
You gotta bring those subscribers in.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Based woman take? Based woman? Anyways. Yeah. So again, make sure to check out Jen's podcast, The Real Normal, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, everywhere you get your podcast. You're not coming back over here, sir.
We talk about lady things.
Yeah.
Last week I did a special episode for International Women's Day. Big hit.
And he's sleepy now.
He's calming down.
Good boy.
It was a big hit. This week's episode's about my wedding planning journey.
And how Jen's a bridezilla. Just kidding. If you guys don't hear from me, I died.
Because I'm so high maintenance.
Right. Totally high maintenance.
But that's the... if you're into, like, all that, check it out.
All that. If you're a woman.
If you're a woman or a feminist.
Right. So, this weekend... Oh, no, there's one piece of news I have to talk about. So, Star Wars gaming, once again, has failed miserably. The Star Wars mobile and, for some consoles, game Star Wars Hunters, which originally got announced back in 2021 and then got delayed until 2023, almost 2024. Zynga, the company that not develops the game, but produces the game, basically the equivalent to like the EA of mobile games. They have announced that they are shutting the game down October of 2025. I never played the game, and the reason I never played the game is because by the time it came out, I wasn't excited for it anymore because the marketing team was so garbage at marketing the game, and they took way too long for it to get to the Western world. It was out in India for 2 years before it came out in the United States and like Europe and stuff. So the only way you could play on it is through a VPN. And they never marketed the game almost at all. They had cool cinematic trailers, and that was about it. So if you want to check out like more news, more in specific stuff, check out my buddy Split Screen. He has a cool Star Wars gaming channel. He's my go-to for all like the news and rumors that I want to find out if they're legit or not. He tends to report on the stuff that is legit. So he's much more an expert than I am on the gaming aspect of Star Wars. So go check him out. We did, however, have a little bit of a silver lining with the continued failure of the Star Wars gaming industry. With that, at Star Wars Celebration, a new Star Wars turn-based tactics game will be revealed at Star Wars Celebration, developed by Respawn Entertainment, who has made some of my favorite games like the Titanfall first-person shooter franchise, as well as the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor games. So I have nothing but good things to say about Respawn Entertainment. They are a fantastic developer, and they have yet to have a miss in my book. So I'm very, very optimistic about a turn-based tactics Star Wars game. I'm kind of hoping that it's something similar to like a bird's eye view, like almost like you're playing a tabletop game. Much like Star Wars Legion, or your things like Risk, or some sort of conquest game. Catan even. Just some sort of resources and or combat tactical game.
Ticket to Ride.
Not Ticket to Ride. Josh, Longest Road, really? Really? Not all of us are smart enough to be engineers, Josh. Sometimes you're going to have to dumb it down a little bit, I'm just saying. Anyways, shout out to Josh. The rest of us feel very stupid when we play board games with you. But I'm very excited for this game. And I'm really anticipating. I feel like Star Wars Celebration's really ramped up to be some good reveals this year between games, products, upcoming projects from Lucasfilm. So very excited. Looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with that. Now, Jennifer.
Yes.
If you haven't noticed by our shirts, I'm the world's tallest leprechaun.
Let the shenanigans begin.
So this weekend, as you guys are seeing this in the United States, it is St. Patrick's Day weekend, a weekend of merriment and alcoholism.
Well, and in Ireland.
And in Ireland as well.
I think they celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
Probably. So. Obviously, a big thing is the luck of the Irish. Luck this, luck that. So I thought it would be an interesting topic to bring up just as a brief kind of discussion this week on the podcast. There's the quote from Obi-Wan Kenobi in the very first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. Star Wars 77. Where Ben Kenobi says, "There's no such thing as luck." And him and Han Solo have a little bit of an exchange about that on Millennium Falcon. I'm interested to kind of delve into this topic a little bit because it's something that I talk about with my friends here and there. And it's one of those things like, how much does the Force really predetermine things that happen? We know from interviews with, the great Freddie Prinze Jr., the voice actor of Kanan Jarrus, that there's a famous interview clip where he says that, George Lucas told Dave Filoni, and then Dave Filoni told him a lot about how the Force works and how the universe works. And one of the biggest takeaways from that interview is that the Force is all about balance. There must be a balance between the light and the dark. And the Force will do things like predetermine who will win a battle regardless of skill or talent in order to keep the Force in balance. So how much does that play into, you and I were kind of talking before, does that affect free will? Does the Force predetermine everything? Does the Force, how much influence does the Force have over what happens in the Star Wars galaxy, and how much does luck play into it? So Jen, I guess just your thoughts going into it, if you have a point you want to just jump into right out the gate.
I think when Obi-Wan is saying there is no such thing as luck, I do think the Force is is the idea of like a god, really.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's a religious idea, analogy.
Yeah.
So, that's the question. It's a very philosophical.
It is.
Like, that's what philosophers still talk about, is the idea of, like, if things are predetermined, like, if you have a belief in a higher power, then do you actually have free will?
Yeah.
Or do your choices cause a different path to, like, for you to go down a different path, or were you always supposed to make that choice? Yeah. So I think the idea is that, like, when you make a choice, that's not, like, and it goes well, that's not luck, that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's such a highly, like,
it's a very deep question, yeah.
Philosophical conversation.
So I guess my first inkling is to say that I don't think the Force determines much. I think that the Force is a lot more reactive than it is proactive. The Force will do what it needs to do, the living Force, as it binds us, it penetrates us, and it goes through all things living and non-living. The Force, I feel like, has a way of trying to maintain that balance. However, the Force can't physically stop people from doing things. The Force, I feel like the Force has through what we've seen with very abstract story arcs, like Yoda's story arc in season 6 of the Clone Wars, where he goes, and meets, we think it's the Wills at one point. The Wills are essentially the Force in like a human form.
And like the
Bendu?
The Bendu and the Mortis gods.
The Mortis gods.
Like, I don't know, it's kind of...
Yeah.
It's more mystical than the, like, cut and dry.
Yes.
Well, none of this is cut and dry. It's all...
Yeah.
But, like, it's more mystical than the higher power conversation, because then you add in these other...
Yeah, you even get into stuff with, like, the sequel trilogy. Snoke has the line, "Darkness rises and light to meet it." Like, there has to be some sort of conflict if one side is getting too powerful.
Yeah.
So then it comes into question, like, was the Jedi Purge necessary? Was that the Force?
Well,
because we were way out of balance. We had far too many Jedi, and we had far too few Sith.
That's what I'm thinking. If was it the Golden Era, or not before that? Whenever there was
the High Republic.
High Republic, when there was, or the Old Republic, when there was a bunch of Sith.
Oh, the Old Republic with the Sith Empire. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if, like, I mean, it could be that far out. It doesn't have to be a sequential...
Immediate, yeah.
Balancing. So all of the Sith being wiped out, except for 2, leads to the Jedi having more people, but then they get wiped out, so that it goes... And it's kind of interesting, because where we are in the original trilogy is there's 2 Sith and 2 Jedi.
Obi-Wan and Yoda, and Vader and Palpatine.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately why that I think is where the Force does influence things. Obi-Wan had to disarm Anakin, literally and figuratively.
Okay, wait.
On Mustafar, and then Obi-Wan choosing not to kill Anakin is an act of the Force. And again, on Jabim, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, Obi-Wan choosing not to kill Darth Vader is an act of the Force making sure that there maintains a balance between light and dark.
Hold on. So...
Let her cook.
So... In A New Hope, we have the people that are actively Sith and Jedi, Darth Vader and Palpatine.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Yeah.
End of New Hope, Obi-Wan dies or disappears into the Force.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's also, like, Luke decides to go seek Yoda, and then he becomes a Jedi, so now there's still 2.
And then
Yoda dies, and then Palpatine dies, and then
Vader dies.
But Vader... Wait. But then... At one point, like, before he dies, he is brought to the light.
Yeah.
But is that before or after Palpatine dies?
No, that's after Palpatine dies.
I can't.
Vader throws Palpatine over the ledge.
Right. Okay.
And then Vader dies.
Then they take his thing off.
I want to look on you with my own eyes.
You know what else I was thinking about is... with the Mortis gods is like, so Anakin was supposed to be the father holding the light and the dark.
The balance between the light and the dark.
Right. So, but he ends up falling to the dark side, which making him representing the brother, right? Or the son.
Yeah.
But he has twins, and I feel like Luke represents the father in the way that he balances light and dark.
You know, so this is an interesting concept. This is something that gets brought up a lot, is Obi-Wan and Yoda think that Luke is the chosen one because Anakin fell to the dark side.
Right.
That is what happens in the original trilogy. So much so that when Obi-Wan defeats Darth Maul in Star Wars Rebels, and Darth Maul's dying question to Obi-Wan is he the chosen one, referring to Luke? And Obi-Wan says he is. Genuinely, in that moment, they think that Luke is the chosen one. However, Anakin still remains the chosen one when he defeats Palpatine after coming back from the dark side. I think that what we get caught up on too much when we think light versus dark, I think it also means finding the balance within oneself.
Well, that's what I guess.
And
that's what
Luke
mean.
Skywalker defeats the dark side. Him and Vader defeat Palpatine, and Luke and Vader find balance in themselves in that moment. And I think that is honestly probably why the Jedi Order in the prequel trilogy gets purged, because the Jedi the Order lost its way. It became corrupt. It became the hubris became it overtook the Jedi Council. Politics overtook the Council, and so essentially that needed to be, it's kind of crazy, that needed to be wiped out for the Force to have balance. And so that some really awful things happen as consequences for the actions of the Jedi, you know?
But I'm also thinking about, where does Leia fit into all of this? Because she, like...
You want something crazy?
What?
In George Lucas's scripts that he wrote rough scripts that he wrote for his sequel trilogy that he ended up never putting out, Leia was going to be revealed to actually be the chosen one and bring balance to the Force. What do you think of that?
Interesting.
It was going to be Leia all along.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your sister.
I don't know. I'm like... Now my brain is on haywire.
Yeah.
Like, trying to make all the connections.
Yeah.
But in the Freddie Prinze Jr. interview, like, he points out that, you know, if you know the balance, then you'll know who wins at every fight. And but almost not push back, because I think, like, that's how the stories are written for plot devices.
Yeah.
But to push back a little bit, because of the idea of it doesn't have to be sequential, I do think there's more gaps in that balancing of, like, something that happened years ago can be balanced years later.
Yeah, I don't think that it's immediate, you know? It needs to, like Darth Maul. Darth Maul is a serious like shoehorn, or is a serious. What's the term I'm looking for? Here, watch the cord here. We keep kicking it, and it might mess with the mic. You see what I'm talking about? What is he? Throws a monkey wrench into everything because Darth Maul is supposed to be dead. And right. Darth Maul comes back in the Clone Wars, starts causing chaos, so Palpatine steps in, defeats his apprentice, Savage Opress, to balance out the dark side of the Force. And the rising power within. Mm-hmm. Now, if you had Darth Maul running amok at the height of his power with his whole army and empire with the Mandalorians and Savage Opress, you would have them fighting with Palpatine when Palpatine is the one with, the grand scheme. So Palpatine steps in, kills Savage Opress, defeats Darth Maul, ends up imprisoning him, and then that was supposed to be a Clone Wars arc that got canceled and then turned into the comic book Son of Dathomir. And then that became, Darth Maul becomes, his mission is to find Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he ends up getting defeated. Mm-hmm. That was, kind of part of it, I guess, through the Force, but then also there in that same interview, I guess there's a different interview with Sam Witwer, where Star Wars characters are, archetypes. Mm-hmm. Darth Maul is Sisyphus, and that's obvious when you look at it. And he's the guy who's constantly rolling the stone up the top of the hill. He finally gets there, and then the stone falls down, and he has to push it up the hill again. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another fun way to look at Star Wars is the archetypes. Yeah.
I guess the other to kind of bring us back to the is it just the Force, or is it luck? Like, so Palpatine has a deep understanding of the Force and how it balances. So he uses that to his advantage to plan, make choices, and think strategically. Yeah. So that puts into question, like you said, the Force being reactionary rather than, lucky and, forcing people to do certain things. I think I agree with that. I think the way that Palpatine uses it shows us how he knows the Force will react to something to balance it. So he keeps his ducks in a row so that his plan can come to fruition. Yeah. I think another thing too that kind of maybe says that luck kind of has a little more to do with it than we think is the idea of Force visions when Jedi are sleeping and they're dreaming about something. That's one possible outcome. That's not the Force showing you, hey, this is going to happen. Force visions can be very vague. They can just be one possible outcome. And it's talked about pretty heavily in especially the prequels. And in the Clone Wars show about Force visions. So it kind of begs the question: how much do you trust the Force? How much should you put your faith in it? Say you have a Force vision, but in every Force vision things we've seen, when they have it and they try to prevent it, that's what makes it happen.
Right. They try to prevent it with the dark side of the Force through their emotions and their attachments. If you lean into that, the things that lead you down the path of the dark side, then it comes true. If it's a bad thing. But yeah. I mean, there was the one in the Clone Wars where Ahsoka envisioned Padme being assassinated. And she trusted her instincts rather than her feelings, and that's why it didn't end up coming true. Right. Yeah, I feel like this is one of those topics that's very, I feel like this is like AP Star Wars, like AP Force literature. Yeah.
I feel like I don't have enough of a research background to get this down. I don't know. It's very complicated, but at the same time, it is fairly simple in the balancing part of it. But I don't think that I think that everyone has free will in Star Wars, and I don't think the Force forces them to do things.
Yeah. Well, and then you look at like the world between worlds, which is like a physical domain, and definitely like a really hot button issue right now, you know? Not issue, but hot button topic right now. What is it? Like, is it like possible outcomes of the future, or is it like windows into the entire timeline? However, like the way I interpret it, I see paths that intersect and are crossing and arcing over and under each other. Are these different possible outcomes in the Force? And, you know, you can, in the world between worlds, you can really manipulate reality. Is that, I think that's obviously why Palpatine was trying to get into the world between worlds in Rebels, to manipulate the timeline. And Ezra gets in there. Obviously that's how Ahsoka gets saved. But again, I think that was something that the Force allowed to happen. I think the Force allowed Ezra to go in, and the cosmic Force, the living Force, allowed Ezra to go in, grab Ahsoka, and allow her to live longer, because she is a physical embodiment of the daughter at this point in the timeline. I mean, it's so confusing, because I'm like pulled both ways. I'm like, is it all reactionary, or are there times where like the Force makes sure that something happens? Like because sometimes that's the case. Like if you look at The Force Awakens, Rey is about to kill Kylo Ren. However, then all of a sudden, magically, a giant chasm opens between them and physically pulls them apart, because they need each other. They are the balance together.
But
so, you know,
isn't it reactionary when the Force allows something to happen?
It was just that was more immediate, I guess. You're right.
It is just like, it's, so I'm thinking about Ezra saving Ahsoka. That was reactionary, so that there is still balance of Darth Vader's
light and dark,
sunness, and Ahsoka's daughterness.
Yeah.
You know? So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, as they're allowing something to happen because that's the reaction to keep the balance.
Dude. Yeah, and I guess in some cases it's more immediate than others.
Yeah.
Because like with Force Awakens, like I think if Rey would have killed Kylo, I think she would have been giving in to the dark side in that moment, due to personal feelings about Han Solo being killed and Finn possibly in that moment. She thinks Finn might be dead. I think the Force needed them both alive. They needed to both be alive, so the Force predetermined that battle. Similarly to all kinds of battles where people are like, oh, how did this person with extremely lower power levels and this person, you know, win this battle?
Yeah.
Because the Force wills it, man. You know, it is as the Force wills it.
But like think about the Obi-Wan Maul fight in Phantom Menace.
The Duel of the Fates.
Like,
actually.
So, yeah, like Obi-Wan is less powerful than Maul at that moment.
Yeah, Maul killed his master.
But Maul killed his master, so he's feeling cocky.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that part of it too. It's not so much overpowering, it's emotions.
And it's also playing into the
pride.
Sisyphus.
Yeah.
The Sisyphus thing. He's pushing the rock up the hill by killing Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan ends up chopping him in half.
Right. But I just mean, like, in the argument of people just being more powerful than each other, you still have to think about the emotional part of it. So Maul is a very emotional, prideful person.
Yeah.
He is... Yeah. He is evil. Like, he is the dark side.
At last we shall reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
You know?
At last we shall have revenge.
Like, he kills Qui-Gon Jinn, which is a big deal.
A big deal.
And he's feeling cocky. He's just going to, like, get rid of his Padawan and be done with it. You know, so there's that part of it as well. But, yeah, the Force is... That's what the balance is if Qui-Gon is gone, then we need to get rid of Darth Maul. Obviously, he didn't, like, fully die, but he's out of the picture.
Yeah, I think what's craziest is, like, those really cool moments in the Clone Wars where you get those foreshadowing moments. They literally show you how everything is kind of predetermined in a way, where Anakin sees himself become Darth Vader. Now, whether that was a Force vision or literally him being shown the future, he chooses to turn to the dark side in that moment on Mortis. Because of attachment, because of personal feelings. You know, it was like a foreshadowing. And same with Yoda. Yoda literally sees Darth Sidious. He sees the Sith Lord. And he sees people die. And he loses the battle. Yeah. Just like he does in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And I think Yoda maybe just comes to an acceptance of it. You know, it's crazy, man. Like, that's why, again, I keep getting pulled, like, on both sides of this argument. I don't feel like there's a right or wrong.
Yeah.
Or, like, a blanket answer, you know?
Yeah. And I'm thinking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, too, because that's a Dave Filoni show.
Yep.
And a big part of it is, I think it's season 3, or at least end of book 2 or beginning of book 3, is Aang meets up with this guru who's supposed to enlighten his 7 chakras so that he can be ascend into his full avatar form. Yeah. And he chooses to not unlock the last chakra because it would mean him being detached from
everyone.
Katara. Yeah. That was the whole thing. Is like he didn't want to leave Katara.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a 1-to-1 for the story, like the Force.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and the attachment part of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Their whole policy. So I was just thinking about that in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Aang chooses that because he believes that friendship is making him grow stronger, and like he wouldn't be a good avatar if he didn't have attachments, and you know there's that argument with it. And I feel like I've talked about this before on your channel, is like because they shut off all attachments with the Jedi, I think that's almost more damaging than allowing, like, talking through the idea of loving others while also like having your duty.
In doing that, how can one have balance within themselves? Right. If they're not allowed to have attachment or relationships at all. Yeah. You know? And I think ultimately at the end, that's kind of what Luke Skywalker kind of champions is
there's strength in friendship.
Strength and love and friendship and very strange stuff. Very, you know, and then we get into the sequel trilogy and Luke's a sad old hermit who gives up on everything. But maybe that was how the Force willed it.
And all 3 of them die. It is, like...
pretty morbid.
It's, like, just kind of sucks, but whatever.
Hey, we'll get into it in the next month or so here. But, do you have anything else on this topic?
It's very complicated, and I feel like I need to, like, reread my Plato book from freshman year philosophy, but it's super interesting. And I would love to, like, rewatch some of these highly, like, Force-heavy episodes of, like, Clone Wars and even, like, the prequels, too, because I feel like those are, like, the mystical, heavier movies. But just to kind of... and watch it with this purpose in mind. But I don't know. I don't think there's a correct answer. It's all fiction.
It's all abstract anyway. Yeah.
But
what is the meaning of life?
What is it?
Yeah. So ultimately, what do you think, Jen? Do you think luck has anything to do with it, or is it all just the Force?
I don't think luck has anything to do with anything.
Boom. You heard it here first. I do think there are situations where luck has everything to do with it, but I think it has a lot more to do with people who are not so strong in the Force. Mm-hmm. You know, as opposed to those who are. So, yeah, let us know what you think. Do you think we're stupid in our conversation here? Do you think that we're dumb idiots? Let us know in the comments if we're dumb idiots. Also, let us know if you think we're pretty smart in the comments below. If you can comment on the platform that you're listening or watching on. Anything else before we go, Jen?
No. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day. Happy Skibbity Patty's Day.
Let the shenanigans begin.
Yeah, I'm the world's tallest leprechaun. But yeah, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Blitzcast. Again, another shorter one here. We're kind of just in the waning weeks before Andor. I'm anticipating Andor very heavily. So, looking forward to it. I'm going to get editing on this podcast, work on some other stuff for the channel. And that's going to be all for this episode of the Blitzcast. Again, make sure to subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. Check out all the links in the description below. And with that, thanks for watching this podcast. We'll catch you for the next one. And may the Force be with you. May the luck be with you.
Boo.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 1, 2, pick your targets. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. Gotta hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcements?